Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming to tonight's event, Voiceless Rethinking Kangaroos. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. It is upon their ancestral lands that we meet this evening, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and elders from other communities who may be here today. So firstly, my name is Elise Burgess, and I'm Head of Communications at Voiceless. And for those who don't know, Voiceless is a not-for-profit think tank, and we're focused on raising awareness and alleviating the suffering of animals in two core areas across Australia, which is factory farming and the commercial kangaroo industry. Over the years, we've fought hard to protect the hundreds of millions of animals affected by these industries, with a core focus on policy and law. Tonight is the culmination of our most recent campaign. It is a campaign with a very simple purpose: to bring attention to the plight of the kangaroo. As part of this campaign, we placed eye-catching billboards across the city in an attempt to challenge Australians to think about the kangaroo. We've campaigned through traditional and social media and asked people to take the pledge against kangaroo cruelty. Incidentally, you can also take the pledge tonight at the laptop just across the side there. This is the first time that we've ever taken such a direct, public-facing approach on the issues of kangaroos. And we were often asked, why now? And the fact is Australia's iconic kangaroos are hunted in the largest commercial slaughter of land-based wildlife on the planet. And while similar trades such as the Canadian seal hunt or the Japanese whaling industry attract global condemnation, the kangaroo hunt is relatively unchallenged. Many people simply do not realise that some 90 million kangaroos have been lawfully killed for commercial purposes in the last 30 years. And while this is shocking enough, this figure does not tell the story about the large number of illegal kills which take place on private properties or the impact of government kill programs. Nor does it tell the story of the pain and suffering endured by individual animals, such as the joeys, who suffer enormously as a result of this trade. So that was why we decided to go with a public-facing campaign. Because for almost a decade, we've been trying to shine a light on the commercial slaughter of kangaroos. We've been fighting to expose the brutality in this legal, profit-driven hunt. But as we've tried to speak out on their behalf, the slaughter has continued unabated. And this is due in part to the overwhelming influence of negative public opinion. Kangaroos, as you all know, are referred to as pests, vermin, a plague. And what's worse, this negative public opinion has given rise to acts of cruelty committed by the public themselves. In 2016, so far, we've seen 4 cases of unimaginable cruelty, and that's only the ones that have been reported. For example, just last week, you'd all be familiar with the story of the group of young men who chased down 2 kangaroos and a joey with machetes. That was just this year. So the status of kangaroos as a pest is so deeply entrenched, and it encourages a view that they should be disposed of by any means necessary. So long overdue questions needed to be asked about the laws that govern the treatment of the iconic kangaroo, which on one hand is heralded as an Australian treasure, but on the other is treated with disdain and violence. So what has been the response to our campaign? Well, to be honest, this has probably been the most difficult campaign we've ever worked on. Our campaign has been dismissed by lies, by industry. Government agencies have tried to shut down our advertising at the 11th hour, and even fellow advocates who want us to focus on other issues have questioned our campaign choice. But what's more, we've seen the common tactic by those who support industry attempting to diminish our campaign by focusing on scientific details, arguing statistics or methodology. And Voiceless accepts that there are strong views held by experts on both sides of the debate. But what is even more clear is that there is a need for credible, independent science. But what cannot be argued are the core welfare issues. That is the brutality of killing dependent young by means of blunt force trauma or decapitation, methods which are sanctioned by the government code regulating the kangaroo industry, the inevitability of missed shots, which leave kangaroos to die painful deaths, and the inability of authorities to properly manage and enforce compliance with the few regulations that do exist. These have always been the basis for Voiceless's staunch opposition to the commercial slaughter of kangaroos, and it is the reason why we've long called for the federal government to bring the trade to an end. But there is one way that we can reach this goal, and that is through informed discussion. So we're here tonight, we've gathered leading experts in the field, professionals who have spoken publicly on the welfare of kangaroos and engaged in this debate, probably a lot more than they would care to say. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our very esteemed panel. We have the Honourable Mark Pearson, MLC. He is an elected Animal Justice Party representative in the New South Wales Legislative Council. Prior to entering Parliament, Mark was Executive Director of Animal Liberation. We have Senator Lee Rhiannon, is the Australian Greens Senator for New South Wales and Greens spokesperson for animal welfare. She has worked closely with Australia's animal welfare organisations to promote greater protections for animals, including the protection of kangaroos. And Dr. Daniel Ramp, a conservation biologist with expertise in wildlife ecology, animal behaviour, road ecology, pastoral management and conservation ethics. He is a director of the Centre for Compassionate Conservation here at UTS and also a Voiceless director. And of course, our delightful chair for this evening, Dr. Jeffrey Mason. He's a best-selling author who has written widely on the emotional lives of animals, including the international bestseller, When Elephants Weep. Jeffrey has served as a professor at several universities in Canada and America and is also a Voiceless director. So before I hand over to Jeffrey, I just would like to note that the topic under discussion tonight often attracts diverse opinions and heated discussion, and that the opinions expressed tonight by the panellists or audience members are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Voiceless. But with that aside, I want to thank you all so much for attending tonight and hand across to our chair.